Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. Alright, I've got a fun video for us today. This will go along with my beginner series. I'm going to go through some tablature and I'll be putting it up on screen for you so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, okay? And I'm going to be going through the tablature and showing you how to use your fingers on the fingerboard, okay? And how to get the most out of them. And one thing that kind of sort of throws people for a loop when they get started is, where in the heck do I put my fingers? So that's what we're going to be working on. So I'm going to take the camera and move it, and I'm going to talk to you and walk you through it, okay? All right, here we go. So the first thing we always want to do is we want to check our tuning. And I find that my tuning will be greatly off because my back room will be a lot colder than my front room because we have a wood stove out here. So when I bring it out here, it will, when I bring it out into this warmer area, it'll usually be a lot higher. Everything, all my strings will be higher. Okay, so now we are in tune. Okay. All right, so let's put the, I'm going to put the graphic up of the tablature that we'll be using here. And this is Ode to Joy, arranged by Ron Zuckerman. Okay, and I'll leave a link below for you to go get this tab if you'd like to play it. All right, so if you haven't already, make sure you watch my How to Read Tablature video. I'll put it at the top if you haven't already seen it. But you want to do that before you do this. As you can see here, this is all chords. There's not individual notes. So that means we're going to be having to use our fingers. So for the first one, we're just putting one finger down at the second fret. That's pretty easy. You can use your index finger or your thumb to do that. Now see, the thumb here is very important. We use the thumb to make these big long stretches on our fingerboard, okay? And so it's going to feel weird, but you need to just go ahead and start practicing it and getting used to it. You may find that you need to move your dulcimer away from you more or adjust it in some way as well when you're doing this. But go ahead and put your hand down onto the fingerboard, and you'll see just naturally, if you just spread your hand out without spreading it out far, that you've already got, with your pinky to your thumb, I've got the first 4 frets covered. Now see, I have a long vibrating string length on this. Your dulcimer may have a shorter vibrating string length, which would mean these frets will be a little closer together. But anyway, okay, so we've got those first 2 notes there, the first 2 chords. Play it with either that index or any finger or thumb. And when we use our thumb, we just want to use that meaty part here. And it may press into your nail bed a little bit, and it may cause some irritation at first. You want to try to adjust that and move it, but until you build up a little callus there, it may cause a little bit of irritation. One thing you can do, if you'd like, is you can remove one of your strings. You usually have 2 melody strings nowadays, not always. But if you just take one off of there, that'll give a little relief to your thumb until you get used to it if you want to do that. Okay. All right. So the next thing we come to, it says 0 for that bass string, 1 for the middle string, and 3 for our melody string. Okay. Now you can do this a number of ways. You could do middle finger, thumb, middle finger, index finger. See how I'm having to change the angle of my wrist there to get that? You could do index finger, thumb, pinky, thumb. You know, there's a whole bunch of different things you can do based on what you need to do. If you have any limited use of fingers, you can use different ones, okay? So I like to use my middle and my thumb for that. And what that'll do is get me ready for the next chord, okay? So I've got that there. And one thing you might want to consider too is I started out here on the 2nd fret, and I just moved one up and added that middle finger. Now do you see how that was an easier move for me than this here? Okay, I have videos on banjo, tons of them about this. It's called economy of motion. So we want to use our fingers and our fretboard to our advantage. And naturally, when we just put our hand down, our thumb is already way up here at the 4th fret. So we want to use that. So if we just did like that, that's a lot easier move. Now, we look at the next one. The next one says 2, 3, 4, going down from bass, middle, to melody. So if we just slide it one more time, slide that thumb again. This time we put our index finger down at that 3, and our middle moves up to that bass string and plays that chord. See how we just moved our thumb up. That is a great use of your economy of motion there, without doing all these other movements, okay? And it's just a slide up, okay? So now let's look at the next measure. The next measure starts right here, and then look, we're gonna move back down to that 0, 1, 3. So we just slide it back. Look what's already there. We just lift that index finger. It's already spaced perfectly. And then back to 2. Then we have a 101 chord. Now, again, there's a bunch of different ways you could do this 101. You could use your thumb and do this. That is the least best way to do it, in my opinion. Look how far away my hand is from my entire fretboard. Okay, it's way back here. Okay. You can do that, it'll work, it'll make the same noise, but it's not good for your economy of motion. So since we're using our thumb a lot to get all these chords, I recommend you just we went from here, now we want the 101, you can either take your middle and ring and go down, or you could take your index, ring, index, middle. Either one, any of those are good because your thumb is still back here in case you need to do any quick things. Okay, so let me play through those first 2 measures for you, and I want you to keep an eye on my hand and how I'm using my economy of motion here. All right? See how I'm not making huge movements. I'm not having to twist my wrist or anything. Let's go on to that 3rd measure. The 3rd measure is 2 opens. A chord again, 101. 2nd fret. Okay, I'm going to play through those first 4 measures for you, okay? And just keep an eye again on that economy of motion. One other thing I want to mention about this is keep your fingers that you're not using, keep them in place and ready to go. So if I'm over here using my thumb or my index finger, and I know I need to do a chord, let's say the A chord, 101 next, I'm not going to have my hand like this to do this. I'm already thinking in my head where I'm going next. So I see that my next thing is that 101, that A chord. So I've already got my hand ready, and it's just hovering over the strings. See there? So that is how we want to use our economy of motion. Now, I'm going to get rid of the graphic now because I'm going to show you some other chords and things. You know, lots of good chords take this L shape, which would be open, open, 2 on the 1st fret, okay? Well, not on the 1st fret. The first position would be open, open, 2. Okay, the next position would be 1, 1, 3. There's a 2 fret gap. Okay, and then when we get up here to our 6 plus, it's a little bit different. But my point here is that this can be played a number of ways. You could play that 1, 1, 3, where you bar the 1 and put your thumb down at the 3. That's kind of a quick thing. So you can use the bar to your advantage, where you press all 4 strings down. But again, you want to think about the economy of motion there, and you want to think about what's coming next. If I'm barring right here, and I need to come up here higher next, look what's over here, ready to go. I can use that bar chord and go to the next fret and the next fret even. Or I could have pressed all the strings down with my fingers instead and used my thumb that way. I could have also, instead of doing the bar on the index, I like to do a bar on my ring. And then I've got, look at all these fingers out here. I've got other fingers, and I can even stretch it farther. So we just want to think about these things. I'm going to move the camera back up, and we'll talk a little bit more. I hope you found value in that video. I hope that it helped you to understand a little bit more about how your finger placement is very important on any instrument you play. And we want to use that economy of motion to make it easier on ourselves, right? You know, jumping from here to here is hard enough when we're trying to make those stretches without using sort of, I don't want to say the wrong movements, but movements that are, you know, harder, more difficult. Let's make this easier on ourselves and make it more comfortable. And one thing that I was showing you a little bit of on the video is that you may need to adjust where the dulcimer is in your lap. A lot of times what you need to do, you might get some wrist pain and such. A lot of times what you need to do is just take the head of it and move it farther away from your body. The bottom end of it will stay close to your body, but take that head end of it and move it out farther, and that just creates more space for you to get in there with your hand and your wrist and everything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it. And before I go, I just want you to always remember that Jesus loves you.